Hello and welcome to another episode of It Would Seem As Though. The episode. No.
Just this one.
The podcast where it's just this episode. The podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Because we can and we want to.
I'm Vesta.
I'm Annika.
And we hate each other. No, I'm kidding.
Mostly.
I'm kidding. We love each other because we are each other. We're practically twins.
Practically.
I mean, separated by 30
A couple years.
A
couple.
Well, you know.
A few.
20-ish years? 28 years? I don't know. I can't do
27?
Math is hard.
How old were you when I was born?
Well, 27.
Yeah, girl, I knew that. See?
26 and 3/4.
Oh, yeah. She was grown.
I know. She was grown. She was in beauty school.
Oh, my God.
I was a beauty school dropout. No, I was not. I was in it to win it.
And you
now
won
here
it.
I am 33 years later because she's 33.
Ew.
I know. I just aged you right here.
It was nice to talk to all of you. I'm leaving.
Bye! She's had enough.
Sick of it.
Well, you know. Mm-hmm. It was bound to happen, really. Because really all this time you're like, I'm only going to put up with you for just so much longer.
And then you told
TikTok.
the world that I'm 33.
Could be worse.
I have to leave.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, as we mentioned in the last couple podcasts, for the tens of you who are listening, and by the way, we appreciate all of you who listen. Please tell your friends, your coworkers, your family.
Everybody.
Especially your redneck family, because we want them to hear about queer stuff and go, who are these bitches talking on the... Yeah. What's this newfangled invention they're
I
talking
would
on?
love just a little piece of hate mail.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Oh my God.
I would love that. I've never had hate mail.
No, me either.
I'm sure I've had people talk shit about me. I know.
Oh, no, I've never. Never once in my life has anyone
never actually had hate mail. You know, it's interesting. Because I have the Facebook.
The Facebook.
And the ticking talk.
The talk of the ticking.
Yeah. And I make videos all the time on TikTok talking about, you know, Black Lives Matter and Indigenous lives and women's and queer things and whatever. And in my mind,
you're
nothing
so radical.
Right. Nothing radical, really, because it's all just, you know, we all deserve the same rights. Oh, that old drum that I keep
because
banging.
It's like normal conversation within our household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But I keep expecting to get the, you know, you're a stupid, you know, hoobity-hoo, blah, 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 you know, go kill yourself.
Gonna come burn your house down.
Yeah. I have had someone threaten to burn my house down.
Ooh.
Back when I wrote the column, It Would Seem As Though, I wrote some true shit. And by the way, this is the funniest part to me, is it was true. There was gossip. But I knew for a fact it was true because I heard it from many sources. And the story didn't vary. Okay. So I was like, girl, I know this story true. The person that it was about, God rest her soul, told me that she was going to come burn my house down. And I'm all... a little extreme.
Yeah, okay. Arson. No need for arson.
I know. I just called you out for being a late bitch. So why are you screaming at me?
Yeah.
God, calm down.
Am I wrong?
I didn't say calm down because never tell a woman calm down.
That's cat in a bathtub.
Foolish.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as I mentioned, we were going to talk about, because it is Black History Month, we're going to talk about black things.
No.
Black cinema, black folks, black whatever. Just blackness.
And so today specifically, though, black film.
Yeah.
Black film.
And one of the things, I'm going to actually pull up a little thing that I saved in my phone because I'm old and I can't remember shit. So, one of the things we're going to talk about is Blaxploitation films.
Yep.
Because prior to Blaxploitation, the Blaxploitation film movement, most black actors and actresses in movies were either playing domestics or villains.
Yep. Criminals, villains,
yeah,
prostitutes.
Criminals, right. Oh, right. Well, you got to have some prostitutes.
The people who were detested. The othered.
Right.
The deviants.
And it was like, because of course it was well before we just accepted that prostitution is just sex work and sex work is a job.
And girl, that's if black people were in the film.
Right. If they were in the film.
Yes.
Well, if they were, there was a black person. Unless, of course, you were doing a movie about slavery or about... But come on. Most of those were like, but look at how happy they are.
Aren't they?
Oh
They're
God.
whistling.
I'm going to get off topic for... Well, not really.
Weird.
The movie Song of the South.
Oh.
The one Disney movie that Disney is like, we never made that movie.
What movie?
What movie? Girl, you know, people, it's a rumor. By the way, I own a copy of the movie. It was hard to find, but I own it.
You had to get it from, like, Britain or something, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to get it from...
overseas.
Europea.
Yeah, exactly.
I did. But the whole reason it's controversial is not because it shows black families in the time of slavery. It's because it shows them as these happy-go-lucky, we love our lives, even though we're enslaved by these white people.
What an unnecessary film to make. Do you know what I mean?
Well, right. Well, or it could have just been Uncle Remus telling these stories to children and leave out the white slave owner.
Oh, a little bit.
And have him just be this cool old black guy who lives in his little cottage.
Love it.
And has all these children who are friends and family and visit him to hear his cool stories. But considering one of the stories is about the tar baby.
Okay.
Problematic.
Are you allowed to say that?
I know. Well, I've already said it.
Offended.
Are you offended? I'm sorry. As a white girl, I would imagine you would be.
Yeah.
So here's the actual... I'm going to jump back now. So, whatever. Good luck ever finding that movie. And they're now changing Splash Mountain.
Because it's based off of it.
Because it's based off that.
Yep.
I mean, very loosely.
Right.
There's no slave owners, but
Zippity Doodle's in it, girl.
Yeah. It is catchy, though. You come out of there, you're singing Zippity
So
Doodle.
it's a small world. That makes me jam things in my ears.
I love it. So, Blaxploitation is an ethnic subgenre of exploitation film that emerged in the United States during the early 1970s, when only one of us at this table was alive.
Me.
Right, the old one. The term portmanteau of the words black and exploitation was coined in August 1972 by Junius Griffin, then president of the Beverly Hills Hollywood NAACP branch. He so named it because he claimed that the genre was proliferating offenses to the black community in its perpetration of stereotypical characters often involved in criminal activity. However, the genre does rank among the first after the race films of the 40s and 60s, in which black characters and communities are the heroes and subjects of film and television, rather than sidekicks, villains, or victims of brutality. So really, though it was demonized by many in the black community, and probably a lot in the white community, who were being all like, this is wrong, it also was widely loved and appreciated because it was the first time that black actors and actresses got to tell the story of black people being the hero, being the normal person. Although in blaxploitation films, there's not a lot of just normal people. You are either the hero or the villain, or whatever. But you're everybody.
But most of the time, and a lot of blaxploitation films, most of the characters, most of the people in the film were black people.
Yeah.
And so that's important too. You just see lay characters as black people. You know what I mean? People, the person shopping is a black person. Like, I know it sounds so minimal, but it's a big deal.
Well, it is a big deal because, I mean, if you think about, like, when we watch films, I swear to God, now that I am older and smarter and whatever, I watch most of these films like Where's Waldo? It's like, where are the black people? No, I'm sorry, you're in this big city and it's all white people? Everywhere is all white people?
Right.
Come on.
I know. Well, but there's a lot of shows we've talked about as well.
Yes, shows, movies, whatever. Yeah. So, the blaxploitation film movement is really is kind of credited to being started by two movies, one being Shaft, which, Shaft was a huge movie. Shaft, starring Richard Roundtree as Detective John Shaft, who, by the way, sexy as hell. Okay, I was a kid, and that's probably weird and creepy, because I was, I don't know, 12.
My prayer circle.
10. I was young. Who cares? He was hot. But it also had that amazing song that everybody, knows, is still played on the radio, and won an Oscar for Isaac Hayes. So Isaac Hayes also, oof. He was hot too. I'm just gonna say, hot bald black man. Whatever.
Anyway,
I'm just sorry, but he was hot. And the other one was called Sweetback's Badass Song.
Okay.
It's just the name itself is like, what?
A lot.
By Melvin Van Peebles. And Melvin Van Peebles, which sang his name just already trips up my tongue. But Melvin Van Peebles was one of the ones who got in and wrote and directed and produced a lot of the Blaxploitation films. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, years later, his son went on to carry on that legacy. But both of those movies really kicked that genre off and got it going. And at first, I think people were just so shocked by it. Yeah. They were shocked by the fact that it's like, wait, there's a movie and we're rooting for this black character. We're loving this black character. Now, I'm going to say the plot to I have seen Shaft more than once, but Sweetback's Badass Song I've not seen, but it's a story about a male sex worker who's also a vigilante.
Love that.
I know.
That is kind of a lot of these films, though, because when I was looking some of them up, a lot of it's like, Foxy Brown, is a venture boyfriend. She pretends to be a prostitute to draw in, to be a vigilante, essentially. Right. And I love that. I love that they're using something that's, like, so deviant and quote-unquote criminal and bad, to fight crime. I think it's great.
Yes, and Foxy Brown, of course, it started a whole nother thing. Because Foxy Brown was, this crime-fighting, kick-ass woman.
Afro-wearing.
Yeah. That was great. That also was really when that movement started, too, with black women wearing their hair more natural and people, white people, being introduced to the fact that black women often have curly hair or different hair that doesn't look like a white woman's hair. So all the wigs you saw them wearing in all the movies up until that point were exactly that.
They're like, wait, what?
So seeing these women looking like their natural, beautiful selves was a whole different thing.
Shocking. Shocking to white people.
And one of the movies that I also watched as a young person was Cleopatra Jones.
Yeah.
I love that. What I loved is that she also was badass. Karate, chopping, government agent who went undercover. Yeah. What's kind of interesting to me, because I was thinking about Cleopatra Jones the other day. First of all, the name, love it. But it's the first movie I saw. Now, again, I was very young. First movie I saw where there was a love scene, and I mean a real steamy love scene between two black actors. And I was like, I remember being actually like paying attention to it because I was like, I've never seen this before. And one of the reasons I think it really caught my attention is we only had a black and white television. So, of course, color's not great. It was small. It was whatever. But I'm looking at these people going, is this scene just filmed very dark? I can't really see what's happening. And it was because, of course, these actors were both black and were in a scene that probably was lit more typically for white people who glow in the dark, so you don't need to have as much. And it's supposed to look like they're in bed and it's nighttime and whatever. Yeah. And I was like...
We could have done this a little differently.
Seeing it later on a good television with some color and, little depth percent. I was like, oh,
I get it.
Okay, still hot. I mean, it's probably weird that I was.
We don't have to point that part out that you're a perv.
Don't we know?
No. Going back to Cleopatra Jones, I guess that's what we were talking about.
We were.
One of the best parts is, her boyfriend is, he's being framed essentially, and he is like a kidnapped, held hostage by this villain who's like a drug queen and a pervert. And the drug queen and pervert happens to be Shelley Winters, which I think is hysterical.
It is hysterical. I love Shelley Winters. She was a badass, though. Yeah. Now, of course, your generation, you probably know Shelley Winters from Roseanne.
Roseanne, she was
where she played
Grandma. What was her name?
I don't.
Roseanne's grandma. She played Roseanne and Jackie's grandma,
and with her little
trucker hat,
and whatever.
She was so quippy.
Grandma Mary.
She was awful, and I loved her.
She was awful, but then Roseanne's mother was awful, and of course, in real life, Roseanne turned out to be awful later. But Shelley Winters, who is in another movie that we're going to talk about. She played such a bad character in that movie, and she played it